This episode of the Power Bros Movie Reviews is brought to you by Fearless Wandering Productions and our supporters at patreon.com. Did you know that patrons of the Power Bros Movie Reviews get access to a weekly patron-only bonus show called Movie Chronicles with the Power Bros? They also get early access to our main show. Join today on patreon.com for these benefits and more. And now, on with the show.
In 1941, comic book writers Joe Simon and Jack Kirby published the first ever Captain America comic book. Captain America gave hope to a country that was at war. He embodied the American spirit, and in the darkness, he shined a light of hope, representing the men who were giving their lives for their country. About 30 years later, in 1970, Stan Lee would revive the character in the comics and go on to establish Captain America as a prominent hero in Marvel Comics. Stan Lee once said, "It's amazing how Cap's popularity has never waned over the past 8 decades. I feel that it's a wonderful testament to the talent and skill of Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, who so brilliantly created such a fabulous artistic representation of the best of America." Unquote. Captain America is a hero who displays bravery and a willingness to sacrifice oneself for not only those who you love, but for those who bring you down, even for the bullies. Because a true hero considers others as more important and will do anything to thwart the forces of evil while upholding truth and justice.
Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews. I am one of your hosts, Tobiah Powell, and I am joined with my co-host, Trent Powell.
Hello.
How are you doing today, Trent?
Doing pretty good. Excited to talk about
Nice.
our movie today. I definitely
Yeah,
look forward to these podcasts. They're fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we watched Captain America, the First Avenger, and you want to share your overall thoughts? Just what'd you think?
Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot more than I was expecting, or even more than I remembered enjoying it. It had, I think a lot of exciting things that I appreciate about Captain America. Captain America is always kind of one of my favorite superheroes, and I remember when the trailer first came out for the First Avenger, and I just, remember getting really excited because I'd been looking forward to seeing Captain America on the big screen, and just getting a superhero movie about him. So like going back to it, it's kind of like reliving some childhood memories, and because I hadn't watched that one in ages, so it was nice to go back to it, and I enjoyed it. It's kind of the thing is, and I'm realizing with a lot of superhero movies, is that sometimes they can just be guilty pleasures, just movies that you can just sit down and enjoy. But I also enjoyed being able to watch it a little more intently and just following the story and looking at different themes and just seeing, okay, what is this movie communicating? What is this movie teaching? And then just being able to watch Steve Rogers' character develop from him being a kid from Queens. Is he from Queens? I think it's Queens. Brooklyn. Right. He's from. It is. A kid from Brooklyn who's, a little unnaturally skinny, but we can get into that. But he's kind of a wimp, but he has a heart, and he's willing to stand up to bullies, even though he's going to get the poop beaten out of him. He's willing to stand up for what's right, even though the world's up against him. And so just seeing his bravery and seeing him develop and see that, like, oh, even when he has superpowers, like, he's still the same person. He just now has super strength, and now he's able to stand up to bullies in a more effective way. Not that he was doing it wrong before, but now it's like, oh, okay, now he's actually able to be a force of nature, and be the hero that he wants to be and that he strives to be. I like the scene when he jumps on the grenade, I think that seems kind of a little unnecessary, but in this from a story standpoint, it's like, okay, they're showing that he's different than the rest of these people. Even all these other guys are buff and tough and and can are willing to are able to do more things physically than he is, like and to endure more, but he's willing to still sacrifice himself for others and to lay his life down, which comes full circle when he does lay his life down at the end of the movie. So anyways, we'll obviously get more into that, but it's just I enjoyed it. It was a fun movie. I think it was well done. I'd say it's probably one of the more underrated movies in the MCU. And you gotta just think, like, up to this point, you have a lot of pretty poorly made superhero movies, except for, like, Captain America: First Avenger came out in 2011, with Iron Man coming out in 2008 and Hulk 2008. What year did Thor come out? Was Thor before Captain America: The First Avenger? I don't know.
I can't remember.
Yeah, and either way, like it was, it was the start of the MCU. They were building the Avengers, and Captain America is one of the key Avengers, and so it was risky. There was a lot of things. I think they took a lot of risk with the movie, but I think it paid off, and I enjoyed it. It was good. I mean, there's some bad things. There's some things I didn't like, and we'll get into that. But overall, I enjoyed it.
I'm gonna be a little more harsh than you.
All right.
I'm kind of the opposite. I've never really enjoyed this movie, and I don't know if I ever understood why.
Awesome.
But I feel like digging into it, like, I actually have a reason now, and I'm like, okay, no, that's why I haven't really liked it, and it's all the negatives in it. And so for a superhero movie, it's not that bad.
Right.
Like, I think it's pretty good. I think they did good with it. A problem, I think, is that it is like a World War II movie, and compared to, like, if you compare it to other World War II movies, it's not that great.
Yeah.
And then if you compare it to superhero movies, it is pretty good. One issue I think they had is the fact that Captain America is such a morally upright guy. And we're just getting into it.
Yeah,
this is one of my biggest flaws with this movie, is that he has no character development. I didn't notice any character development. And I think that's the problem with this character, is that I love Captain America. He's great. And I see character development in other movies, and we'll get into that. Or maybe I haven't. I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah,
digging into this movie, I didn't notice any character development. And I think it's because he's such a morally upright guy that he doesn't have that room to grow at all. Like, and it's from the very beginning, he's, like, proven to be, like, the most righteous, upright guy. Like, no moral gray areas, nothing. Like, he is just perfect. And then he gets his muscles, and then it's still the same, just all the way through the movie. And I think if you don't have that character development, there's a little bit of a takeaway from that. Like, you're not as drawn to the story.
I kind of disagree. Okay, so I agree with a lot what you said. There wasn't much character development. I think there was a little bit, though, and I think his character development was his insecurity, because he's worried. He's always worrying about his own self-image. He's worried about the fact that he can't measure up, and he wants to. Even the scene where he's standing, he's looking at the World War II expo, and the light turns on. He's not tall enough to be the hero, to be the soldier. And I think throughout the movie, I think even the reason that he gets into fights is because he's insecure about himself, and he knows that, like, okay, I'm the little guy, and he doesn't like being a little guy, which is okay to an extent, but he's insecure about it throughout the movie. And I think we see that even more in other Avengers movies. So I think it maybe there wasn't. I don't know if he really overcame that in this one. I mean, he kind of did, in that, like, he realized that being the hero isn't all about being big and strong. It's about willing to lay down your life for others, for those that you love, and in order to save those that you love, and recognizes that he's not always going to save the day. Sometimes you're gonna have to lose. You're gonna have to lay your life down. You're gonna have to die, in order to save others, I guess. And so maybe that's like a little bit of character development that I would see is just his overcoming some insecurity. I think he has that a little more in the Avengers movie, especially when he's going toe to toe with Iron Man and Thor, and they have that big fight. I think there's more of it there, and maybe even in Winter Soldier, if I can remember correctly. But so that's all that I would see. But I'd say, yeah, for the most part, right, he's this. There's not much faults in him. Like, he's kind of faultless throughout the movie. So I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see that, like, even like, he is looked at as a joke most of the time.
Yeah.
Even when he gets his strength, he's still looked at as a joke.
Yep.
I mean, they just throw him into the plays. Like, he's not thrown into war. He's not thrown into battle.
Which is kind of ridiculous.
They still see him as just this. Yeah.
But, like, I mean, they put him through the super soldier program, and I know, like, the point is that they stopped doing. He was the only super soldier. I mean, we find out later on that there was others down the road and other projects, but for the most part, he was the only super soldier. And someone tried to one of the Hydra agents came in and tried to steal the serum and whatever. So they stopped it with him. So I know that he was more of a test subject because they wanted to see if they could do this right, especially because the Red Skull, he also is a super soldier, but it went wrong with him. We don't have a whole lot of backstory on that, but because it was the scientist guy that kind of befriended Captain America. He had operated on Hugo Weaving's character.
Yeah.
But anyways, it was kind of ridiculous that, like, they create the super soldier and then they just use him as propaganda, and it's like, why wouldn't you go send him off on secret missions, to go and actually punch Hitler in the face, go defeat the Nazis, go bring down Hydra.
Yeah.
And instead they just kind of push him to the side and don't utilize him. But I have theories as to why they did that. But anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of his character too, is that he was always forcing himself out of the unfortunate situations that he was forced into, and you saw that before he had the super soldier serum and after, and I think that's just another part of his character. But I don't know. I think there was some character development. And usually when you see the biggest character development in a movie is with The Dark Knight of the Soul. And
which we didn't really get.
This is another issue I had, is there was none.
Right.
There was not, like, okay, I can tell you where it was, but it wasn't a Dark Knight of the Soul. It's just like a sad moment. And it was just when Bucky died.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a very weak Dark Knight of the Soul. It made him sad, and he went and tried to get drunk, and that was it. And he couldn't get drunk, so then he just talked to Peggy for a second, and then was over it.
Everything's fine.
Like,
yeah, that was kind of lame.
Yeah, so, like, he didn't. Usually with Dark Knight of the Soul, there's something that the hero has to overcome.
Right.
And since he's such a perfect guy, there's nothing for him to overcome. So he just had, like, a sad situation happen to him, and it's not like the whole world was coming in on him. It was just, another unfortunate thing in his life. Like,
right.
It wasn't drawing you to anything.
Yeah.
So there was nothing that he was overcoming, nothing for him to repent of, nothing for him to grow.
Right.
It was just, yeah.
Yeah. No, I get you. That was unfortunate, and yep.
There was one thing that I thought, like, could have been, like, something he was trying to get over, is that, like, he had to realize that he can't fix everything and save everyone.
That's what I was trying to say.
Like, I feel like that was that was like a part of him dying, and that's what he had to overcome. But, like, it's just so weak. It was like it wasn't, like, in there. And if you think of, like, good movies with Dark Knight of the Soul, like, that was just
lacking. Right. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, even, like, the fight at the end, I felt was very kind of anticlimactic. It didn't take him much to defeat Red Skull. he was only defeated because he touched the Tesseract, but I think they were also doing something with with his character there. Well, I don't. We can get in the villain in a little bit.
No, we can get into it now.
Okay,
if
yeah.
you want.
Well, so Red Skull, I think there's some good things and bad things about him. He's very one-dimensional. He's just evil for evil's sake, which is fine sometimes, especially with a movie set during World War II when you're dealing with Nazis. I mean, Hydra. So like I kind of get why they wrote him the way they did. I think Hugo Weaving did an awesome job. I think he was just born for that role, and I think it was brilliant. I don't know why they didn't bring. I don't know if you knew this, but they didn't bring him back for Infinity War when he was in. They hired a different actor, so I don't know the whole story behind that. But I think he was a very intimidating villain. I like that they started off with just Hugo Weaving's face, and then eventually took off the mask and revealed himself as Red Skull. So I don't know. I liked him as a villain for the most part. It was just like I said, very one dimensional. He just wants power. He's evil. But I think they contrasted it well with Captain America, because Captain America, he wanted power. He wanted to have the strength to be the hero. But he obtained it in a selfless way. He was going to use this for good to be the hero. So he sought for power, but for the right reasons. Hugo Weaving, he sought for power for the wrong reasons, and he wanted to dominate and be a powerful leader who could take over the world. Like any typical villain. But I think and then at the end, like when he picked up the Tesseract, like it seemed like that was his final fault. Like he gave himself completely over to the power because that's what he wanted. And then he actually, as we find out later on in other movies, he becomes kind of a slave to that power, and he can't get away from it. So he's taken to another dimension. And so, anyways, I thought there was a kind of a good contrast there that I noticed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he was definitely it's very clear that he was an equal opposite of Captain America.
Which is
he was the evil to Captain America's good.
Yeah, which is a copy and paste thing that every MCU movie does, and most superhero movies. I mean, having the villain have the same powers as the good guy, but he just uses his powers for evil. And it's just funny how there's a lot of similarities between this movie and the first Iron Man, that are just interesting. And we can talk about that another day, but there's kind of a lot of copy paste that was going on.
Yeah,
even
for sure.
Even with
so what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I think they was bad. Like, I agree. I think the end fight was very weak writing. I think it was
terrible,
very quick and just So, what I would have done if for the Dark Knight of the Soul and everything, he should have lost his power, lost his strength somehow. Like, this is also typical superhero writing. I mean, you see it in every movie that the hero loses his powers and then overcomes something.
Right.
Like, Spider-Man with Iron Man, you're nothing without the suit if you need the suit or whatever he says.
Yep.
But he should have lost his power and then still been the good man and still defeated the bad guy.
Right.
I think without his powers would have been cool.
Like have the Tesseract somehow, take away his powers or like make him weak.
Yeah.
Like
there's so many things they could have done.
Yeah.
And I think that would have really, really impacted way more than what happened, which was just like a quick, I'm throwing my shield at you for 2 seconds and now you're picking up the Tesseract and now you're gone. Okay.
Right. Right. Exactly.
It was I felt that was very weak. But anyway, so but him as a villain, I think he was a really you're right. He is one-dimensional, but I think it is a really good way to put a villain is sometimes they are one-dimensional.
He's not like a sympathetic villain. You don't feel sorry for him.
Yeah. You don't feel sorry for him. He's evil for evil's sake. He has no care for human life. You see that all throughout the film. He's just killing his henchmen all the time, like whatever.
Right.
He doesn't care at all. he just wants to rule the world. He wants to overthrow Hitler, and he's just evil. And I think it's good. I think his evil could have been more impactful with a weakness in Captain America, though, and it would really just showcase that. I don't know. I feel like it enhanced his evil or something, but but I thought he was pretty good. He was decent as a villain.
Yeah, for sure. I wish I got more of him. Yeah. What do you think of the casting? I mean, Hugo Weaving, perfect. I think he was perfect for Red Skull.
Oh yeah.
I think. What do you think about Chris Evans overall? Like, I know we've seen him obviously a lot more with all the other Marvel movies, but like, you know, Captain America: First Avenger, 2011. You know, Chris Evans has been cast, and he's gonna star in this. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I know. After seeing him in Fantastic Four, and...
oh yeah, I always forget about that.
I think he did really good as Captain America. I think with the comics, though, a lot of like the comics that people really love is an older Steve Rogers, more I wouldn't say stoic, but more stoic, more
authoritarian, like tough.
More experienced. But so since it's his origin story, I think it worked. I do think it did.
Yeah,
he is kind of like a little bit soft, you know.
Right,
like he gives off that soft vibe,
which we don't really get that at all with Captain America in the comics. Yeah. So there's definitely I would say a good difference, but I think they went a good route. I think it was, as far as creating a character that people would enjoy and appreciate and, you know, want to see more of. Like, I think it was a good choice. For sure.
I think they also, because this was towards the beginning of Marvel or of the MCU, they were targeting younger audiences, I would say, more than they were older audiences. So they probably didn't want like a really grumpy old guy playing Captain America. They wanted a little something for the kids to not be scared of. And I think that might have been into their consideration of why they chose him. But I do like him as Captain America. I think he's great.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, and then Red Skull, Hugo Weaving as Red Skull is great.
Yeah, we got Haley Atwell's Agent Carter, which I think that was good casting, and they used her a lot after that. I mean, they made the whole TV show, which I want to go back and watch, because you got Howard Stark and Haley and Agent Carter going around doing missions and whatnot. Yeah, totally forgot about that show. I don't remember if it's any good, but
no, they only did one season because it didn't do well. Which actually, I want to kind of get into. I want to kind of get into Peggy's role, and that I thought it was very out of place. I think it was kind of forced, the whole female in battle.
Oh yeah,
like you look around. I mean, this is what, 50s. You don't see a female.
No, well, yeah, there's
running around
like
with a machine gun.
That other officer lady who made out with him. It's I remember watching that. I'm like, yeah, you wouldn't be in this room, and like that would not be happening. I'm sorry. Like, no.
Yeah.
This is
so I think her whole role was just out of place, forced. Yeah. It was definitely, I mean, clearly an agenda pushed.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that's who she is in the comics too.
From what I know.
I don't know if she started out. I don't know if she started out as a different role. You know, maybe she started out as a nurse or something, and they just couldn't put her as a nurse in this movie.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But it was very out of place. It doesn't make sense for a war movie for her to be a soldier. She's literally a soldier in the film. And it was just out of place.
What is her ranking or role? I don't remember.
I don't know what her ranking is, but
does she actually go into combat? I can't remember.
She does in one, and towards the end. That's how she's with him. That's how she's with him, like when he gets on the plane or whatever.
Right.
or like when they're like driving the car or whatever,
right,
to get so that he gets on the plane,
right.
that she is in battle there, and I get it, like, to have her in the movie, they kind of had to have her as a soldier.
Yeah, they wanted a good love interest, which she was a good love interest for Captain America, and that aspect of it was, I think, well done.
Yeah,
but you're right, like her role in the movie, it's out of place, it doesn't fit. It is unnecessary,
and she does outrank him, and you do see like him submitting to her throughout the film, which is very off-putting. It's I think if they had her as some other, like, she shouldn't have been his superior officer.
Correct.
It should have been something, I mean, a nurse, or I mean, especially for the time, a nurse is what makes sense. Whenever you watch any other war movie, it's the love interest is always a nurse.
Yep.
Like, if you think of Hacksaw Ridge, the love interest is a nurse.
Pearl Harbor, which is like not a great movie, but anyways,
it's for the time, it's not right. Like a 50s movie, women, I don't think they were even allowed to be in battle, if I'm not mistaken.
So. No. Not so. I don't believe so. Yeah, so like, historical accuracy, not so great there.
Historical accuracy, and just a woman shouldn't be in battle.
Right. Yep. The guy who plays the scientist, I think his name Stanley Tucci or Tukey or something. He's been in a lot of things. I like him as an actor. I think it was a good character. There was he was kind of the connection between Captain America and Red Skull, because he is the one that operated on Red Skull, and he operated on Captain America. But Steve Rogers. He saw Steve Rogers. He saw the heart and the bravery. He saw the hero that he could be, his potential, and that's why he chose him. And so there's kind of a good motivating character. But this kind of also gets into the copy paste from Iron Man, because they literally did the same thing in Iron Man, where you have this brilliant scientist who has an accent, who helps the hero become the superhero, become the hero that he is. And then he dies, and it's a motivating factor for the character. It's like, oh, this person that has been a friend to me, it's been a mentor to me, dies, and dies giving me my powers, dies making me the hero that I am becoming. And so that was just interesting that it literally did the same thing. Which is interesting. Which is fine. I think it was. Yeah. It fit well.
Yeah, and he, and that was like why he like almost had to pick Steve Rogers, because when he failed with Red Skull, he knew that the evil was enhanced with him.
Yeah.
So he needed a guy that was good,
right,
so that the good would be enhanced in him. And I think that went well, and. Yeah, that kind of thing works when you have a mentor like that in the movie, and the dying and the motivation for that.
Yeah,
it was probably better in Iron Man, but
right. Yeah, I think it was better.
I think the writing was. I think a lot of the writing was just pretty poor in this movie.
Yeah, I feel like the first act was pretty good as far as like helping us, see who Steve Rogers is, see him as this brave but small, weak man who has heart, wants to be a hero but can't, and then he's discovered by this mentor, and he takes him in and then gives him the superpowers. And then the second act happens, and it's like, oh, you're a super soldier. You literally just chased down this Hydra office agent, and you chase down a car, and then you jump into the ocean and rip him out of a submarine. You do something that is just completely superhuman and incredible, and we're just gonna use you as propaganda. Go go and put on some tights and dance around on stage, and so it's like, I feel like the second act was kind of weak. Third act, like I said, like the ending was, the ending battle between Red Skull and Captain America was lacking, and I mean, but then it concludes well with his sacrifice, and him bringing down the plane, which you can debate whether or not that was even necessary. He could have just jumped out of the plane. He literally showed that he can jump out of an airplane earlier in the movie, and when he was jumped out of Stark's airplane, and so he's like, you can put on autopilot on this very sophisticated airplane. But anyways, we could there's a lot of things you could just pick apart in this movie, but
yeah, for sure.
But I mean, you could do that with almost any movie.
There was definitely like getting on when he got on the, I don't know if it was a bullet train, that whole scene was just completely ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah. Right.
There's the plane taking off and the car stopping.
Yep.
Driving down the longest runway ever.
Yep.
Did with the plane that he was on, was the plane not like a bomb itself that was gonna crash in somewhere and blow up?
Yeah, so it was, oh wait.
So I think there was a reason that he had to crash the plane and not just abandon the plane.
Well, I was thinking, I think he needed to crash it into the ocean because it was going to New York, and I think it was something in it was gonna blow up. But I was saying, like, there would be autopilot or something, or a way to direct the plane into the ocean and then jump out before it crashes. That's
for sure.
But they needed a way for him to be frozen in ice for 70 years so that they can do the Avengers.
Yeah. So I think now would be a good time to mention our Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're going to be talking about the Stan Lee cameo, what we thought of that. We're going to
do end credits as well.
We're going to pretty regularly be talking about the Stan Lee cameos in our Patreon and end credit scenes, and whether they were pointless, not pointless, a good tease, and whatever. I want to talk about Phase 4 because Phase 4 is officially over with Loki and and the Marvels being the finales for those, with 17 projects in Phase 4.
Yep.
17.
Is it really that? That's
yeah.
I think I've seen half of them.
Yeah.
Anyways,
it's been quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about Madam Web, what we thought of the trailer.
What's going on with Sony over?
Yeah. Silver Surfer, and just what happened with the Marvels.
Yep.
So a lot to talk about there.
Yep.
So you guys can catch us in our special patron episode. You can subscribe. It'll be a link in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I want to talk about. Oh yeah, so the CGI.
Yes.
A lot of the CGI was in the first act of the film.
Yep. What do you think about Skinny Steve?
So I think for the time, because we said we were going to judge CGI for the time, it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
It wasn't that bad.
Okay.
Especially when you see, I mean, they've tried other things.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of an exact example, but I can think of like all the floating heads.
In
the recent
there's a lot of
stuff.
floating
Like
heads.
that's just really
it's just
bad.
Odd. Yeah.
So when you look at Captain America in this movie, it came out in what, 2012?
11.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that bad in my opinion. There were a few scenes where you see his head and it's like kind of blurry around his neck area, and it looks weird. I mean there's probably more than a few scenes, but overall I didn't think it was that bad. Like it wasn't too distracting. It wasn't too weird for the most part. You can still like see the connection with him when he's talking with all the other characters and actors and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously Chris Evans wasn't there, but
right. Yeah. I don't know. I do agree. Yeah, for 2011, it wasn't that bad, but I think I even remember watching it in theaters and just sitting there like, it's a little off. I mean, obviously it's a little off, but like I think like it was really off. And
Yeah.
Granted, I don't know what else they would have done. I mean, you can't just ask Chris Evans to drop 70 pounds and then bulk up. Like then all right, give him 2 months to bulk up and then we'll film again.
Yeah.
And like, okay, fine. Like I don't think there's anything else they could have done. Maybe like not made him as skinny because it just looks
Chris
like
Evans
yeah. What?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
It just looks like they took a grown man's head and placed it on a 12-year-old. Like it's just he's like abnormally skinny. That was the only thing.
Yeah.
Like it was right for the time. I think they did a good job. I don't think there was any other options. So I get that. I will.
I don't know. I think
credit
Chris
where
Evans
credit is
needs
due.
to have a talk. I think Chris Evans needs to have a talk with Christian Bale.
Oh, I know.
Get some inspiration from him.
Come on, be method.
He went from that one movie where he's literally as skinny as Steve Rogers in the beginning of the movie to being Batman in The Dark Knight Rises.
What did he put on? He like 80,
bigger.
He was like 70 pounds.
He was bigger than he ever was. Yeah. Or was it Batman Begins? I don't know.
Yeah, it was Batman.
One of Batman's.
It was Batman Begins, and that was I think the biggest that he got.
It's the biggest he got. He was huge.
Yeah.
So.
Ugh.
It's just excuses for Chris Evans.
Oh, I know. He's not very method.
Yeah, and then the music score I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Not too distracting.
No, not at all. It was good.
I guess we should. I don't want to skip over too much of the CGI. I guess there's more CGI than just.
Oh
Chris
right,
Evans.
Yeah. It's okay. I was moving on. Too. It's okay. It's the only thing that stands out.
Everything. Yeah.
There was a couple.
It's because everything else was pretty good. I mean.
Yeah.
There wasn't. It was. Yeah, pretty good visuals for a Marvel movie, especially in the time.
Yeah, I would say that overall the CGI was pretty good. Oh, we were talking about Red Skull. Okay, so Red Skull, it was all practical effects, which is pretty incredible, because it looks like it almost it could be CGI, but it wasn't. So I thought that was well done. Some of the Tesseract weapons and the lasers going everywhere was kind of felt like a little out of place. World War II, but it made sense. I mean, just from a story standpoint, and okay, they've found this ancient power and they're able to utilize it as a weapon in various ways. But I thought but I don't think it was the CGI that really made it look out of place. It was just what it was. There's a couple of times where it's you could notice that they were using a green screen. I can't remember exactly where, but.
There was, I remember there was a spot where I noticed it was a green screen.
Yeah.
But I think it's just...
But it's fine. It's not the worst thing.
Yeah. The CGI really doesn't, in my opinion, distract you that much in this movie, other than a few times with Steve Rogers. I think overall, it's not distracting, which is, of course, what you want with CGI. What's good CGI.
Right. Yeah, I feel like a lot of MCU movies today, the CGI is it's almost just like a CGI bath of weird visuals and things that just make it feel like it doesn't belong and it's out of place, and it's just they use CGI too much because they're able to. I mean, you have something like Multiverse of Madness, which I actually think the CGI wasn't too bad in that. But you have Quantumania, and it's a little much. You have
well, with Multiverse of Madness, so that was Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi's notorious for being practical effects, so there was probably a lot of practical effects in that compared to a lot of other Marvel movies. So that's one reason I'm sure that it actually looks really good.
Yeah,
a lot of the locations were probably on location and not green screens. Right. As much as he possibly could.
Right.
And I mean, I know that he's very much known for that, which is why he has really good movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. So yeah, I'd say Captain America, they did a good job for that time, and with what they had available to them. So yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Man, I don't know. Is anything else you wanted to really say?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it a little bit, but like just comic book accuracy.
Oh yeah,
I'd say like the suit was really good. I think the reason that they did the whole propaganda tour, where he's going around Europe dressed as Captain America, is to just give them an excuse for why he got the suit, why he got the name Captain America. Because if you think about it, this you give someone the super soldier serum, he's not going to come out saying, "All right, give me some tights. I want some red, white, and blue, and you're going to call me Captain America now." It's like it'd be a little out of place. So like it made sense. Like they turn him into this image of hope, of the American spirit, and make him into kind of a hero in that sense. He's punching Hitler, which is also probably another reason why they did it. So they can do a callback to I think it's the very first Captain America comic where he's punching Hitler.
Yeah, and the suit that he has in that is the comic accurate suit.
Right.
Like it's
all right,
it's
spot on.
It's the ugly one that they used in the 70s Captain America movie.
Yeah, and like so what's interesting is Captain America, the first comic that he was in was during World War II. Like he was created for that very reason, just as an embodiment of the American spirit, and just to give hope to a world that was at war with itself, and so to give kind of the American spirit embodied in a superhero. And people longed for that. They wanted that hero. They wanted that, which is why I think superheroes work in different times and different ages, in different ways, and they're more, and more people are drawn to them more when there's times of despair and hardship and trials and war and death, and which is also we can get more into that. But I think it's another reason why the MCU took off when it did. During, like kind of the latter, in the middle of our war in Iraq and Afghanistan and all that. So like I think like there was a desire for a hero that we could follow and hold on and latch onto, which is not to get too much into this, but I think it's also another reason why superheroes are not working right now, because they've forgotten that. They've forgotten what makes a hero. They've forgotten what inspires people, and we've forgotten we don't know our need for a hero right now, because we're so caught up in ourselves and our in our age, and we're all about being inclusive and equality and wanting to be the best you in a way that it doesn't give us it doesn't inspire us towards heroism and self-sacrifice and selflessness, but also doesn't draw us to another hero, one that can save, one that we need, that is not found in ourselves, it's found outside ourselves. So anyways, we could go on and on about that, but I think the suit was good. I like that they had the propaganda suit, and then he kind of created his own suit with Howard Stark. Oh, which is another, just I think was a great casting. I don't know the actor's name, but whoever played Howard Stark, he was just like, he was like Tony Stark, and I think they did a good job with that. It was clearly his dad, and there was just a lot of similarities, and they did a good job with him. But anyways, he gave him his suit, got the shield, and obviously they had the other shield, the one that's not a circle, at first, and then he they found the vibranium, and because he was told to pick out a shield that he wanted, and he found the circular one, and it was like, I want this one, and it was like, oh well, this is the the rarest metal on Earth, vibranium, which was actually made up by the MCU. That wasn't from the comics, because it's antimate. I think it's antimadium is what his shield's made of in the comics, which is what Wolverine's made out of, if I'm not mistaken. But they were not legally allowed to use that name because they sold off the X-Men to Fox, which we talked about in last week's episode. But anyways, so I thought that was well done. Overall, I think he could have been a little more bulkier like just because that's how Captain America is in the comics. Like he's just a ripped guy. But I mean, not to say Chris Evans wasn't ripped, but maybe like if he could have put on like 10 more pounds of muscle, maybe like it would have been a little more appealing. And he kind of keeps the same physique throughout all the other movies, so it's fine. That's just at that point we're just being nitpicky. But what do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I think it was a good transition for the suit that he got. I think of course with these superhero movies they can't have comic accurate suits all the time. Although we do see in Avengers that he actually does have a pretty cool suit. That is
the Avengers one
comic accurate.
It's a little more comic book accurate. It's brighter, which I think they did just to mold or blend in well with Iron Man and even Thor and the Hulk and so I think they made changes because then you go to Winter Soldier and it's back to that darker toned suit. That's not as bright.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it was a good transition. I think the suit that they ended up with was good enough. I mean, there was no complaints by me for it, and I think the shield works. And
right. Yeah, any kind of themes or messages that you saw that stood out?
Yeah, so the one, I think. Well, I mean, I've kind of touched on most of them. I think. I mean, just a lot of the themes like his characteristics and that he's like a completely moral guy.
Right.
One thing I did notice in the beginning with the doctor guy, mentor, whatever, is he really he was basically telling him that with great power comes great responsibility, and that's why he needed a moral man to have those powers. So I think that was cool. Like, I mean, you could just really tell that like he said it in like a long time, like 10 minutes. But that was the moral of what he was saying, is that with great power comes great responsibility, and it works with Captain America, and it's like I said, it's just hard having a perfect character to have problems.
Right. That's true.
But then you do get to the end, which I think is where this all comes to, is his sacrifice, and he is this perfect guy, and he was bullied by this world. Every person that he knew would bully him, make fun of him, whatever, except for Peggy, whatever.
I could do this all day.
Even with that being the case, he still is more than willing to kill himself to save the world or New York City or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, even then, like, we see him always getting back up. So like he gets beaten down and he's, I can do this all day. It's like that's his line. Because he's willing to take it. He's willing to take the heat, take the beats, get the beat downs and go through hardships, which is, so it teaches us about bravery, which we see in I think a lot of superheroes express that and show that. It's like, no matter how many times you get beaten down, it's like you're going to get back up because you're going to do it for the right reasons, for those that you care about, the people that love you, and that you're willing to die for. So I think we see that. Just dealing with bullies, like that's a common theme throughout the movie. And just so his bravery that, and he was brave before he got the muscles, and then brave after, willing to sacrifice himself. So would you say that there was a hero's journey? I mean, I think so. Like looking at him from the beginning and him being called to go on this adventure, in a sense, to be the hero, though he didn't have something to overcome. That was the struggle. That was the issue. So they tried to set up the hero's journey without really having that.
Right. Yeah.
Except for maybe he's insecure.
I mean, he a little bit, like, because it all started when he ignored the superior officers and just went off and did his own thing and saved the people anyway, trying to do the right thing. But it's just so I feel it's hard to connect with him just because he has nothing to overcome, and it's disconnecting. But it's who he is. So I get that they had to struggle with that, but they should have given him a flaw or something to overcome to become Captain America.
Right.
Like, they should have. I mean, you'd have to like just completely rewrite the whole movie, but it would be more of like, in the beginning he wasn't totally a great guy or something, and then he eventually, becomes a good guy and then can have the powers of Captain America or whatever.
Right.
Something like that. And I was hoping like even like Bucky would have like some character development, and you don't see anything with that either. He's still like, even when he died, it wasn't like, oh, he was sacrificing himself to save Captain America or something like that, or one of his friends. No, it's him just trying to be the cocky fighter guy that he is, and just grabs the shield and tries to shoot the guy anyway, and then he gets shot out the freaking train.
Yeah, good point.
So, like I said, this movie wasn't my favorite. It wasn't the best written, in my opinion, but it was overall a fun movie, I would say. Like, it's fun to watch. I feel like digging into it so much made it not as fun.
Right. Well, yeah, I think that's how it's going to be with a lot of these superhero movies, which is okay. Sure. Which is why we're doing this, partly. Yeah. But
it's a fun movie. It's not a terrible movie. It's not like you absolutely shouldn't watch this movie. It's a good movie. It's about a morally upright guy who does sacrifice his life in the end. And I think it was good.
Yeah,
it's just less human connection to him. I feel like, and he's more of a savior,
right?
Character instead of a person.
Which I think what makes a good superhero movie is having both of those.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
You want to be able to connect to them, though. Like, think about Superman. Like, Superman doesn't often have much to overcome, in a sense, like. Because Superman was written as a Christ figure. He's not from here, but he's still like us. Like, he is human, he has human qualities, but he's a superhero. Superpowers, but he's a savior who comes to defeat evil, defeat the bad guy, to crush the head of the serpent. So Captain America is kind of like that. He's kind of a Christ figure, which I think is also why he was written during World War II. It was a hero that people could look to, a savior. Which, as we're talking about, like, these superhero movies, the superhero genre should and does point us to see our need for a savior, and Captain America is that in a sense, but it's hard to connect with him. It's hard to sympathize with him because he doesn't have anything to overcome. So sometimes it's okay, I think, but I think they do a better job with him in later movies. I don't know if you agree with that, but so I kind of see that because he becomes more human, in a sense, more relatable as he's learning how to fit into our day and age, into our world. But anyway, so there's that savior aspect of him, and that need for a savior, that realize we can't save ourselves, and that we need someone else who will die for us and to save us.
I think if you really look at him that way and really understand that that's what they're going for, it does add some understanding to why things were the way that they were in the movie. And I still think they could have done something that they could have gone more into, because like the things that I did notice, they were there, but they were just they weren't so obvious, and they weren't very clear that that's what he was doing. It wasn't open that that's what he was having to overcome, like the thing that like that he can't save everybody, he can't save Bucky, he can't save everybody all the time. And it's not like that tore him apart or anything. It's just like he just tried to get drunk and then that was it, but he couldn't. So
well, he needed that death scene, he needed that dark night of the soul, he needed that scene where he's wounded, where he loses his powers, and then he's resurrected. And like that, that's the story that we like. That's the story that this type of story that God tells, and that's the one that we long for and want to hear and want to watch. And they didn't give us that in this movie.
For sure. Yeah. It's definitely what it was missing.
Yeah.
Well, are you ready to start ranking?
Absolutely.
And rating this movie?
So where does this movie rank for you after we've watched only one movie?
I guess it'll stay in the number one spot.
It's number one. It might be the number one for well, we'll see. I know. we got a lot of interesting movies coming up that are going to be fun to watch and unpack.
Yeah, our next movie is going to be far different than this one.
Yes. So. Do we want to say what we're doing next?
Yeah, because we had said in the last one. So it'll be X-Men First Class.
First Class. So the first of the second trilogy of X-Men movies, because that one takes place in the past. So we're doing chronological order, just to remind everyone.
Yeah.
So going to X-Men First Class, which I remember when that one came out, and I'm excited to watch it again. It's been a while.
Yeah. For sure.
So what did you rate this movie out of 10?
I gave it a solid 6.
Oh, 6. Okay. I gave it 6.8. So.
Okay.
How much better?
Oh, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we could split the difference and give it a 6.4.
4. Yeah. I'm fine with that. I mean, I think it'll be interesting. I think that's a good bar. Like, we'll set the bar there at 6.4, and from here on, like, decide, okay, is this movie better than a 6.4, on our scale, and if it's not, then we're like, okay, well, it's going to be below Captain America, so it'll be the second best movie, like if we talk about First Class. And I don't know where we're going to rate that, or what I'm going to rate. I do not remember much of
I don't remember much either, so yeah, it'll be good to see how that goes. Cool.
Definitely.
Well, do you want to wrap this episode up?
Yeah, so we just talked about Captain America, the First Avenger. We definitely had differing opinions, but came to an overall conclusion that it was poorly written, but had a lot of heart to it, and I think it was a good setup for the Captain America character. Just they could have done a better job from the writing standpoint. Overall, set in World War II, it was enjoyable to watch. Fun as a fun popcorn movie. It has its faults, but it taught us about bravery and sacrifice, and what it takes to be a hero, just without having anything to overcome, which is a problem. So he didn't have anything to overcome, but he was still the hero, and fell flat in some ways because of that. But for the most part, it's a fun movie. And look forward to watching more of the Captain America movies, like Winter Soldier, Civil War. But for now, that is our review for Captain America, the First Avenger, the first, number one, first one on our movie list, and it's the only one we watched.
Yep.
Like that. But
all right. Thank you for watching.
Listening. Thank you for listening. Power Bros out.